Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Win a Pageant podcast. Today, I've got a really beautiful woman to introduce you to. And when I say she's beautiful, she has an eye for beauty. So, of course, her external presentation is absolutely lovely. But if you see her external presentation online and in the design world, you are going to be like jaw dropped, because this Sherri Owens, Sassy Ink Design is her brand, SherriOwens.com. Sherri has a BA in design, and the way that she looks at pageant paperwork, specifically your platform page, your social media, your logos that you're doing for your platforms, and ad pages, all of those pieces, she looks at it through the eye of design, what's going to be absolutely beautiful, but also with a mindset for marketing. And this is something that I love about Sherri, because she has that vision for how you can market yourself in pageantry. Y'all know that's something that is like near and dear to my soul, is the idea of marketing. I know that your entire marketing package has to be in place, because when you go to compete in your pageant, you are marketing you. And this is one of the reasons that I love Sherri. So today she's going to be sharing with us 5 very specific things that y'all can do to improve and plan for your perfect ad design. So let's go ahead and welcome Sherri Owens. Sherri, thank you so much for being here with us today. I so appreciate you.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a long time coming. I'm so excited that we finally got this opportunity. And I am just so honored that you picked me to be able to talk about the subject, because I feel like it's something that isn't brought up much by a lot of coaches. And it's always put on the back burner, when really it's something that should be brought up even before you spend all that money on your gown, because this is what the judges see, right?
Absolutely. And that is one of the reasons that you stand out to me, because it is a full marketing package. And, we in our Win a Pageant Academy, we start everything first with branding. We need to understand, who are you? What do you bring? Where you come from? All the pieces of who you are. And then we've got to elevate what are those things we want to showcase for your pageant competition. And that's where you come in, Sherri, because that's the thing the judges see first. When they receive the program book, or when they see the headshots, and when they get your paperwork, all those things are a part of the package. So I want you to just share a little bit about, if we could, just a bit about your story of how you even got into design and pageant design specifically.
Absolutely. So pageant design actually came later in my career, because I've always been an artist. Even as a kid, I was organizing my Crayola crowns by color hues all the way through. And so my mom always knew, she's like, that girl's gonna be an artist. So I almost went to pastry design school to be a pastry chef, and switched gears into graphic design. So I have a degree in graphic design from a gorgeous little school in St. Augustine, Florida, called Flagler, and a minor in fine arts. So that's kind of what kicked it off as far as the design world goes. Now, the pageant world started in high school. I did a pageant, had never even walked on stage before in my life, never even spoken into a microphone before, but all of my girlfriends were doing it. And so I decided, all right, this is something that I want to try. Never done anything on my own. Have always been a basketball player. So team sports, volleyball, softball. I tried it and I loved it. I told Trinity earlier, I actually decorated a cake for my first pageant, which is hard.
Wait, that was like your talent?
That was my talent, my 2-minute talent.
Wow. What a cool talent. I love that. You decorated a cake. Oh my goodness. In like 3 minutes or what? 2 minutes.
It was, yeah, we were based on like the MAO, time frame. So it was 2 minutes. And so I was 17 when I did this. And I already had kind of that marketing mindset. Like, I designed my own ad for the program. I went to a local Italian bakery and I asked them to sponsor me and do a cake. So they did a foam cake for me, and then I decorated it, and I looked like I Love Lucy, and I put sparklers in it at the end. So it was really cool. But anyway, so that's how my love.
That would be a great talent. I just think that would be so fun to watch as a spectator, after all the 20 dances and all the songs and all the stuff. And then here comes the cake girl. That's so fun. Wow.
It was definitely different. but it kind of made me realize like I might want to do some stuff on my own and be able to speak on some volunteering things that I was a part of even as a young kid in Girl Scouts. And I was always volunteering at the Boys and Girls Club with basketball. So it kind of all brought it all in to something that I love to do. And I continued to do it through college. USA system, I did MAO for a while. And then I competed as an adult too, after I had the kids and they were old enough for me to kind of handle juggling everything. But I had a lot of friends in that time who still competed that I made, such good relationships with at a younger age. And they knew I was able to do program design ads. And so I just started designing for them. And I had started my design business before I even had my first child. And so this was always something I've done on the side. I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep designing for my girlfriends. I want them to do well. Like I want them to look good. You spend all this money on photos. You already spent all this money on wardrobe. Like you got to have a good looking ad. And then social media has come into all of that too. So.
Yeah. And it's cool that you're right. Those things over time, you start to discover all these things are the thread that ties them all together is marketing and beautiful design. And so whether it is on social media or if it's in the ad or if it's in the platform page or if all these different things really still have, and for you and I hired Sherri to do an ad for the program book for the pageants that we sponsor. And it came back looking beautiful. We're only in kind of phase 1 of the early design work, but it was so lovely. And so it really captured, and what I appreciated, Sherri, is that you weren't afraid to tell me the direction. I'm not a visual person. I am like by far not a visual person. And I was like, Sherri, so here's what I'm thinking. Like, I literally have no clue. You were like, send me some ideas. I'm like, I have none. Have none. And you're like, don't worry. And the thing you sent back, I was like, this feels good, So you just do such an outstanding job really capturing that. And I'm grateful to you for that. So let's start with our tips here, because you've already kind of curated. I'm excited to hear. I haven't heard all of them yet. So I'm excited to hear these tips that you want to share with people. Let's start at the top. Give me number 1.
Okay, so my first tip is to use an appropriate headshot. Depending on your system that you're competing in, there are definitely some headshots that I see that I look at and I'm going, oh, that might have been a little risky. For the older women, maybe too much showing, maybe too much of a, more model-esque look. And some girls I know that I do designs for, I know they're like happy-go-lucky, bubbly, and then they want to use a shot of themselves that is not even smiling. And to me, I'm like, yeah, but you're going to walk in that interview room and that's not you though. And this is what you want them to remember you by, because when they take those booklets home or they take the programs home, because they're like, oh my gosh, there's so many girls. Let me go back and try to refresh my brain on who I really liked or who I'm still interested in learning more about before your interview. And so I'm always thinking, okay, is this the right photo? Let me see what else you have. I'll ask you, let me see all of them. Don't just give me one photo and say, nope, got to use this one. I like to see what you have. So yes, it depends on what system you're competing in. And then I always say, don't go overboard with the photo editing. Yeah, we don't want to look like porcelain dolls.
Yeah, Sherri, this is you're making a really good point, because when we look at strategically, my girls know I'm all about the strategy. We don't just throw spaghetti at the wall. We got to have a strategy. And when we strategically look at the marketing materials that you're putting out there, like your platform page, your ad page, your social media, all those things, that has to reflect you. And if it is a beautiful photo, and it might be a beautiful photo, and it might be it would look great on a different magazine, advertising sunglasses or something, but this might not work to advertise you, and particularly in this role. And so I love that you are saying, hey, send me a few options so that we can kind of look at this and imagine it in a few different ways to see what's the very best way to market you. And if you have wrinkles or you have pores in your face, we don't need to just take out everything and make you look like a completely different person altogether. We're still marketing you. So I appreciate that you are bringing that up. Yeah. That's good, Sherri.
There's nothing's worse than being a judge and you're looking at this girl's ad and you're like, I don't remember seeing this one
That's
because they've
right.
been so photoshopped.
That
Now,
is
look, I
so
love
true.
Photoshop. I,
Right.
I can Photoshop every day, but there's a point where it gets a little too much. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. And I think we all generally know that point when you start looking like a totally different person. And, obviously we want to have a photo retouched. We want to showcase our best self, but it doesn't have to be where you're like blurring yourself so much that you have not a single shadow and not a single pore and not a single anything. That's good. Yeah. Thank you, Sherri. Cool. What's tip number 2?
Okay, so have a clear direction in your branding. So this goes along with all of it, right? That we've been talking about. And it goes along mainly with your photo that I'm mentioned before, but also like what fonts I choose to use on your ad for your name, or even to list if your system didn't give you the logo, for instance, putting the actual name of the system on there. Are you happy? Are you cheerful? Are you serious? Are you edgy? Make sure your picture presents your personality and the brand you're trying to promote. And there are so many girls that have come to me and wanted the full package. And when you say full package, I'm telling you, they have already started a non-for-profit. They don't have a logo for. We'll create the logo. I create the whole branding for their Facebook. I help them with their website. We do all of it. Then we're taking that into the ad. So like you said, they're going to see it from the top to the bottom. So it's always like have a clear direction in which way you're going, how you want to present yourself, because this is also a huge part of it.
Mm-hmm. And the consistency, what I heard there too, Sherri, was the consistency across all of the areas, and it's not just the coloring, but it's all of the pieces. It's the font, it's the feeling, it's all of the things, and ensuring that that is pulled throughout so that the judges, and when branding is done well, it comes from who you are as an individual, not just like, I love these colors, but truly like, who are you? And then we draw that out and say, now, how does this get represented on paper? And that's what you're so excellent at.
Well, thanks. So yeah, that's, part of it, even if it's like this pink jacket is like something I wear whenever I present Sassy Inc. or I am having a chance to represent my company and maybe do a promo or something. I always wear it. And that's just one thing that's me. And it could be yellow for someone, it could be any color. So yeah, the whole branding package. So again, with the ads, optional supporting photos is something that I started doing a while ago when I wanted to make sure the judges could see and remember that I'm super involved in my community. I'm not just showing up with a sash and taking a photo. Pictures of me actually in work in my service project. So nowadays you can really do whatever you want with your ads, guys. I mean, it is endless. You have designers. A lot of girls can do it on their own, which is great too. If you want to save some money, you can use Canva. I'm not here to sit here and say you have to use a graphic designer or any type of digital marketing agency. I'm just trying to give you tips on that. So there are so many different ways to help you, with that branding, continue all the way through. So a way you can add in some extra pieces to kind of maybe help you separate yourself from the other girls when the judges have these program books is to put a strip of photos of your service projects. And I would always do like an odd number, and I wouldn't do more than 5, either 5 at the bottom or 5 on the side. And it's just snapshots of what you've been doing throughout the year. And again, I'll say, don't just have pictures of you in the sash, like show something that you've been doing, whether it's like food for thought and you're actually in the warehouse working, and you might not have makeup on, and that's okay. You might have a mask on depending on when you did the service project or where you are located. But that's something that I kind of pride myself on being one of the first originals to start doing that. And this was a couple of years ago, and I've seen it happen more and more, and I'm so excited for it. Like, I love to see more on the ads than just your headshot.
Mm-hmm. And I would agree with that, Sherri. I do think that especially in pageantry, it might be different in any other, modeling, this and that, whatever, it might be completely different. But in pageantry, we want to know that the women that we're seeing on stage are real people, and that that's part of the magic of pageantry, is that the service portion is a huge piece to how we're presenting ourselves. And so I love that. And I also want to highlight that special tip that you said there. 3 or 5. You said an odd number, not more than 5. That would mean 3 or 5, but not 4. I just want to make that clear for everybody. I'm a big stickler on that too. I'm like, I like to have 3 tips or 5 tips or 7 tips, but not 4. People like things in odd numbers. That's just a weird marketing thing that we happen to know. And I do think it matters. So I just wanted to highlight that so that people didn't just think like, well, I only have 4. I'm going to use 4. No, delete 1, use 3 then instead. Yeah. Good one, Sherri.
Absolutely. Okay. So then my next tip for your ads is add your social media handles and your website if you have one. You can even put the website of your favorite charity or one that you really, that is maybe your focus on your service as your year goes on. But the reason why I say this is because they're going to search for you anyway. And if you are just, already out there showing it like, hey, this is my Instagram, this is my Facebook, go find me. I want you to go look for me. I want you to see what I've done all year. I want you to see how active and involved I am and how engaging I am with my comments and people who follow me. And really what you're doing in this whole situation here is you're showing the directors, you're showing the judges that I am going to be such a great title holder. Like I am going to be the image, the person representing the system for the next year. Look how good I do already. That's how I'm going to do when I'm your title holder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's perfect and positioned so well, because so often women expect or think that they have to first win in order to start doing the things. No. It's the opposite. It will be easier for you to win when you're already doing the things. And if you feel like you're hiding, then we need to talk, because we don't want you hiding. We actually want you to put yourself out there. We actually want you to call attention to all of these pieces. Like Sherri said, you don't want to feel like you're like, well, I don't have that many followers, I better not post it. It doesn't matter. If you're showing up, the followers will come. You've got to show up and do what you can do, what you know you're called to do. Yeah, good one, Sherri. Man,
Absolutely.
I feel like I need to give you a virtual high five.
Woohoo!
All right, what's the next one? This is good.
Okay, so the last one I have is one of the hardest ones for the designers out there and the girls that are going to have fun doing their own ads. Limit the extra design elements. So when you start going into Canva or you hire out a designer to do an ad for you, really send them your best photos that you love, your extra, sidebar photos of you and your serving. And of course, you want to have the exact copy written down, your name, your title. If you do want to thank sponsors, then your social media handles, and that's it. I hate, and I don't like to use the word hate, but I absolutely hate to see the starbursts. That is like a very popular thing right now. They're adding starbursts to the earrings. They're adding starbursts to the girl's sequins on her dress. They're adding starbursts to her name. Now, if it's in your pageant system's logo and you're going to use their logo, you've had permission, that's fine. That's not what I'm talking about. But it's gotten so far out of control now where we have palm trees up here. We have, the sunshine coming through the back of the girl's head. And it's starting to look like a Miami club flyer and not promoting the girl. And I am so distracted. Like I come in as a designer knowing, good ads and design elements the way they should be used. Your pageant ad is not somewhere that we need to be seeing all that extra crazy. No one's looking at you. You have spent the money and you have such amazing photographers now that show how beautiful you are without having all these extra things going around you. So yeah, it's just not needed. Those kind of crazy things.
That's good. So keeping it simple is what I'm hearing. Keeping the main thing, that we don't need to add all this, pomp and flair, because the fact is we're actually wanting them to see the stuff we do want them to see. We don't need them to be dizzied and distracted, but rather dialed in and focused. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And when I look through programs, if I'm at a pageant or I'm judging a pageant, when I say, oh, that's a good ad, it's because I'm seeing the girl, I see her name and her title, and I know exactly who she is on stage. I can pick her out just like that. The ads that are a little too crazy, it's just too hard. It's just too hard to really look at the girl and notice how beautiful she really is when there's too much going around. So those are my 5 tips.
That's great. I love these. Now, I want you in it right now, you kind of shared a little bit of a list. And
Mhm.
if you could go back and share that again, because what I
Yeah.
think is really helpful, sometimes we don't know. If you've never hired anyone for this before, sometimes you don't really know, well, what am I supposed to actually send them? Like, what's all the stuff that they need? Do I have to come up with the words? Do they come up with the words? Do I have to come up with which order I want things in? Or is that something that they do? So, can you tell me, Sherri, for somebody that maybe has never hired a designer, what might they do to send, what might she send you? Like that list was so good that you're like, here's what you need. You need to send to social media. You need to send your name. Can you go through that list again? Because I think that's so helpful for all of us.
Oh yeah, for sure. So when I ask for things, I'll always either ask it for in the email or in a Word document. I'll never want you to text it to me or message it to me. It needs to be professionally sent. An email is the best way, paper trail, right? So we would need, if I were doing your ad, I would need your headshot, your extra 5 or 3 photos that you want to use, your full name that you want to be seen on the ad, your title, your social media handles, and your website. And then one other thing I forgot to add, if you do have a platform that you started, a non-for-profit, we can add that logo on there. We can put that website on there, or if you want to thank sponsors. I know with a lot of girls, this is part of the sponsorship, their ask is that you'll be able to have your logo on my ad. So I always ask the girls that, because that's a whole area that I have to make sure we have room for. So we get those sponsors nice and happy for you. So I would need those logos. And when I ask for those logos, I know sometimes it's hard for girls to get a ping file, which is no background, transparent. And sometimes they'll just get them plain white. And that's okay. Like if that happens, we'll work with it. Because we want to make your sponsor happy. But that is it. And here's the other thing I want to tell you. When you work with someone one-on-one, and you're not just sending an ad to a website to just be made, and you're not just sending your photo and your name, and you're filling out a form and you have to pay up front and it's gone. When you work with someone one-on-one, you're going to get rounds of revisions. Like I always give 2 rounds of revisions. And with that, it's like, if I see something that I'm like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work out right, I'm going to immediately let them know we might need to change this out before I send it to them. There's a lot of places out there that you just get what you get. So that's a little hard.
That's good. And I appreciate you sharing that, Sherri, because everybody runs their business differently.
Yeah.
And the benefit of, as you said, working with someone one-on-one is there's a personalized element that allows for that grace of, hey, and you did that for me, Sherri. I don't know if you remember this. You probably do this for a lot of people, I would guess, but I was like, here's 3 photos. And you were like, good job, Alycia, but do we have anything else? And I was like, well, heck yeah, I got millions of photos. Like, so Sherri's been designing an ad page for me that will just promote Win a Pageant. And I sent her, like, here, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, best of luck to you, Sherri. Here you go. Here's what I got. And so, and I'm so curious to know because, not being a visual myself, I mean, obviously I can look at something and say that looks great or that doesn't look great, but I wouldn't know how to create it myself. That's not an area of strength that I have that you've been gifted with. I'm curious, Sherri, when you get all of that, how do you, like, what's your creative process? Like, I'm envisioning you over there being like, oh, let me try if I slid it over here like this. And that's not quite, what if I tried it like this? And maybe more like, so I'm imagining that's probably why you need like all the logos, because if there's like 4 logos that got left out, all of a sudden now it changes the whole design. But is that true? How does your creative process kind of work?
Well, it all starts with the headshot, because like I said, you can really do anything you want now. And sometimes I get headshots with arms in it, full all the way off to the side, and save a lot of white space on the back end of the girl with a lot of hair on this side, which is great for those side panel photos. And then that also, because of her headshot, is going to depend where I'm putting her title, whether it's bottom or top. So really I have to pick the headshot first. If she hasn't picked the, exact one that we're going to run with, I have to have that done first. And then I play around with the fonts, and I'm a little font happy. And it's tasteful though, girls, it's tasteful. I don't want to see like fonts you can't read, or sometimes you get these scripty fonts that are just a little too hard to read. So there's a happy medium between all that. But sometimes I nail it and I end up sending my client a screenshot right away. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. Look how pretty you are. Like, that's my thing, is like, look how pretty you are with your name and title. And sometimes girls get it and they're like, oh my gosh, this is the first time I've seen my picture with my title on it. And I'm like, oh, I love that. I love that, because it's like, oh, it's now all coming, you know, full circle. And so yeah, there's a lot of Command Z, which is undo.
Command Z. Yeah. Like, whoops, that didn't work. Yeah.
Yep. It's a lot of that. But, you know, I'm proud to say that in the pageant world, and this is with me dealing with pageant moms too. Like, I don't just deal with the girls if they're younger, or sometimes teens even. I'm just one-on-one with the moms on creating. I've never had anyone leave unhappy, or, you know, point where they get like, oh, I just don't know if this is right. I'm like, look, send it to your coach, send it to your directors, whatever you need to do, and then come back and let's fix it. But I haven't had any major meltdowns or like that. So.
Well, you know, I'm sure that is also because, Sherri, you're very easy to work with. You've been incredibly patient with me. I know we've had for months now, we've been kind of going back and forth, and I've had a few changes and stuff. So I was like, wait, time out. I need to make sure this is the right way to go. And you've been incredibly, incredibly patient. And I really do think that that part of who you are as a professional is what allowed you to not have, you know, people that have been upset about your designs, because they understand you're reasonable. And, you know, and I like that you say, hey, send this to me in a professional way. We need a bit of a paper trail, because it helps you to know, did I get all the stuff? You know, when you're hearing from probably hundreds of girls at any given time, particularly now, and like pageant season is upon us. And you're like, wait a second, did I spell her name right? You know, you've got to have a place that you can go. And if somebody sends something over Messenger, maybe it auto corrected, and now it's like, whoops, hang on, wait, no, I spelled my own name wrong. You know, that's why it matters to do it like, hey, think about what you're sending me before you send it to me, because I'm going to be checking and double checking and triple checking to make sure I've got it dialed in all the way, you know. And I think that has been my experience of you, Sherri. And I've just so enjoyed the back and forth that we've had to kind of create this, you know, beautiful design that we feel good about and that we feel markets it appropriately. And I know that that's how you would work with each of your girls. And that's the word on the street as well. From what I've heard of my clients that have worked with you in the past too, that they say how easy you are to work with and how professional. Sometimes we work with professionals who just kind of like, yes, you like, yes, it looks beautiful. It looks beautiful. And it's like, no, wait, hang on. If it doesn't look good, I need you to tell me. I'm counting on you, right? That's when you hire a professional, you are counting on them to tell you if it doesn't look good. And Sherri does that with grace and in a very loving way. I've experienced it myself. So, so thank you for all of your help.
I am blunt and I'm honest. And that's why, I mean, just so you girls know, I've worked from home as a graphic designer. I started Sassy Inc. 12 years ago. And I am proud to say I still have some of those first clients that I started my first year. And I think that is it. I am Southern charm, but I will let you know, I'm also from South Jersey, even though I'm living in the South. And so it's just that it's a little bit of that hard love, you know. It's like sometimes you need it, like the coach, you know, your coach, you got to be able to have that hard love sometimes. And the girls appreciate that. Like you said, they don't want to just be yes all the time. Like, tell me how to be my best self. You know, let me help you do that.
That's right. So. Yep. Now you can take the girl out of Jersey, but you can't take the Jersey out the girl. Oh, that's good. Oh my gosh. Well, Sherri, thank you so much for being here today. I so appreciate it. I know you're going to hang around for some Q&A with our clients that are joining us live right now from the Academy. So thank you for doing that. But before we say goodbye, I want to ensure that everybody's got a place to find you in order to hire you. SherriOwens.com. So SherriOwens.com. And Sherri, I just want to honor you. Thank you so much for doing the work that you do. It's so refreshing to have your eye for design, for beauty, and for really show, as a woman, you get to showcase other women in such a beautiful way. And I just love what you said there about, I want you to look beautiful, and that you get excited when you are able to highlight a woman's true beauty and to draw that out of her. And that's what we all really are trying to do. You know, the women's empowerment movement is really to draw the best out of one another. And you are doing that. And I'm just grateful for you that you're working in the industry, because you could probably do tons of work. You could book yourself out in any other industry, but in pageantry, because of your background, you have an understanding of this particular needs that any other design firm might not know, not understanding pageantry from a contestant perspective. And so it's incredible that you make yourself available to pageant women with all of the expertise and all of the years of experience you have. So thank you for your contribution to our pageant industry. It truly makes a difference.
Well, thank you guys for having me. I hope it was helpful to all of you ladies watching.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your tips. We appreciate you. Everybody go find and follow her, SherriOwens.com. Thank you for being on the podcast today.